So let me first quickly ask people, just to set the expectation. What are the key things that people expect from this session? If you could just type it in your chat box, it will be faster instead of sir unmuting so many people, so that I know that if I missed anything, and I'll try and cover it while I am talking about the presentation.
Yeah. I
So it'll
request
help me.
participants to use the chat box and respond, please. You may help Nitika on this.
So in the meantime, sir, can I share the screen?
Yeah, you can. Please go ahead.
Mohan sir, are you able to see the screen?
No, you have to share your PPT or presentation.
Oh, it hasn't come there? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that again.
Yeah, please. So meanwhile, I will read the responses that we have got. Okay. Just give me a moment. Yeah, how to manage the team effectively. This is coming from Dr. Vineet Kumar. And importance of teamwork and management. This is from Ashok Sharma, Mr. Ashok Sharma. How to do a team management under a toxic boss. So this is very interesting. Mr. Debasis Sinha is asking that. And Mr. Satish Shinoy is saying how to foster team management or team collaboration in these difficult times. Yeah. And how to make use of time and team members by Vaikunta Raju.
Okay. How to build team with diverse cultures, how to make
Yeah.
use of time and team members.
Yeah.
How to effectively manage the team effectively, teamwork in management, how to do a team management under a toxic boss. Oh, excellent, Devashish. Excellent question. How to foster team collaboration in difficult times. Sure. I'll try my best to cover some of these questions, but like sir said, if anything is left out, you can always, ask again at the end of the Q&A session. Some of it is part of the session and the presentation. Sir, are you able to see it now?
Yeah, and
Okay.
please bring it on the presentation mode on the full screen.
I am doing that.
Yeah, now it is fine.
Okay. So unfortunately, I will not be able to see the chat window in this. Somehow I'm not seeing that here.
Yeah.
But if I miss out something, Mohan sir, please let me know.
Please, I'll do that.
I'll try and see, but I'm not able to see the messages in chat window.
Sure, no problems.
Okay, so what is a team really? And it's a very basic question and a very simple question, but at the same time, it has to be answered to really reach the team management part. So what is team? Anything on a chat window, if anybody can unmute and answer. Some people who collaborate together for a common function, common role. So it could be any person, it could be a group, it could be a religious group, it could be a group related to a corporate work, it could be departments. I can see some chats here.
A group of professionals for accomplishing a task. That's from Chandra Mohan.
Yes.
Yeah, one minute. Mr. Varamani says unison of efforts. Ashok Sharma says working for a common goal.
Absolutely. So you definitely there have to be shared goals for sure. You have to have a common goal to form a team. You have to have some authority to manage their own work and internal processes. So this group will have their individual tasks to complete in order to ensure that it is teamwork. So if say I am processing in a factory, I am just processing and giving different tasks to different people, so they have to manage their own areas. Say somebody is managing sales, somebody is managing the production, somebody is managing the quality control, somebody is managing the customers. So this is a team, but it's a larger team. Now, these teams can be broken into further smaller segments and smaller teams as well. Production could have their own team. It could have 5 team leaders managing, say, 10 people each. So, this is the team with their common goal. Their common goal is production. Now, on a smaller role could be a person who has a smaller derivative. He only has to work on the cheese. There is another group which is handling, say, the milk production. So hence teams can be many in an organization, but this any group that we call a team has to have a shared goal. They have to be given they are independent on each other to achieve their goal. Then what is team management then? Really? And unfortunately, Mohan sir, I'm not able to see any chat. So if there's anything on the chat window, kindly share with me.
Yeah. So I am yet to receive some of the responses.
Okay. So a team has a common goal. There has to be somebody who's managing the team. There's somebody who's leading the team, who's guiding the team for that common goal. Who will decide who is going to do which task? If today I am managing a client's process, which is maybe I'm managing all their customer service emails. Now, who is going to handle which queue of the email? There could be some escalations, there could be some complaints, there could be some emails related to feedback, there could be some which with pending orders. Now, in a team management, a person who is deciding who is handling what is the one who is leading the team. And we are here gathered only to talk about how is it that a person who's managing the team does a better job. Just a Wikipedia definition that you see on your screen. I'm just going to. Team management is the ability of an individual or an organization to administer and coordinate a group of individuals to perform a task. Team management involves teamwork, communication, objective setting, and performance appraisal. Very high level definition given by Wikipedia. What we are going to talk about is we are going to slice and dice and cut team management into different components which makes a team successful. And we are going to look at how is it that we are able to have a perfect team with great synergies. Anybody wants to add anything to the definition? This is just a Wikipedia, a high level one. Okay. I'm going to get to the main, the big task at hand of talking about team management. I might not be able to spend a lot of time on, the great examples at this point in time, keeping 2 hours window in mind, but do want to touch upon some of the important areas how a team management can be successful. So when I started working, and that is somewhere around 30 years back, for me, as a frontliner, a team management was what my boss does. As I started observing my bosses, I thought that what the boss does is exactly how I'm supposed to imitate. So my boss, probably I have reported to different bosses. Some had a habit of yelling. Some had a habit of great patience. Some took out time to give feedback. That built my team management understanding. I did pick up at that time some of the bad traits as well, because when you watch your bosses, you start doing what they do. I also got into the habit of screaming right in the middle of a group, middle of a group meeting, giving negative feedback. So that's when I stepped back a little, because after my first promotion, I realized that no, this is not going to work. All the positives I'm going to imbibe. All the negatives will get into the list of things that I don't want in my team management skills. And I was fortunate enough to have some of the great trainers who did, resound this and who helped me understand team management a little better as I grow up in my career progression. So just touching upon factors for team management, high level, anything comes to your mind, what has worked for people? I know a lot of you people have teams, have led teams, have been part of organizing teams. Any things that you want to highlight that you think are the perfect recipe for team management? Kindly share in the chat window. I'm not sure whether we will be able to unmute. Sir, can we unmute people? If somebody has, maybe they can just give a hand raise and Mohan sir can unmute them.
If people want to respond, please let me know. And you can unmute yourself and speak to Neetika.
Team management is a subject which really requires people to understand what is my leadership style. It talks about your personality, because when you are dealing with people, you don't want to copy somebody else because that's your style, and that style can be with help of some of the management lessons as well. So as we practice, it becomes part of it.
Madam, I mentioned there trust, TRUST, M. Chidambaram here. I even posted in the chat box. Trust among the members and leaders.
Okay. Yeah, perfect, sir. Mohan sir, I'm still not able to see the chat box at all. I don't know, there's some setting problem with my thing. So maybe you can point out to me if there is.
I will point it out. You may continue. Yeah, I will point.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, trust, perfect. We will talk about it, and I'm happy that you said that. Very important trait.
And one more point I want to add, madam. One more thing. This is M. Chidambaram here. Individual goal should be aligned with the organization goal. That is up to the leadership and the members. Align the goal with organization. Thank you, madam.
Absolutely.
Good evening, madam. My name is Ananta Krishnan.
Yes, sir.
Team management, the main factor is confidence building.
Very good, sir.
Then actually your leader should be not over an autocratic, it's actually a participative leadership.
Yes, sir. So you actually spoke about two different things. You not only spoke about confidence building, but you also talked about the leadership style, which has to be either, authoritative or autocratic. Democratic with style. Yes. We are definitely going to talk more on it. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. So I'm going to talk about the first thing, which is very important in team management. Communication. Why communication? Very important, like Anand sir just said, we need to have very clear-cut key performance indicators and goals. It is very important that every team member, every person who joins a particular team, he knows what is the goal of my team, what is the goal of my the teams that report to which manager. So the overall goals of all the team leaders, when they get together, what is their goal? What do they have to achieve? How are they contributing to the overall goals of the program and then the organization? A lot of times, people who are frontliners, people who just start their career, they do not know, how an organization works. They are not sure. Well, they know that my organization is an IT company and we are providing software solutions, but they do not know the slicing and dicing of that. We don't know that which department is doing what. So a basic understanding that this is what my organization wants to achieve, maybe this kind of a turnover, this kind of positive response from all the clients. So maybe we are doing some kind of a survey with all the clients, maybe performance related, that yes, in a day, we are processing these many requests in a day, or a clear-cut guideline that yes, we are expecting a certain kind of a behavior from all the people who are in the organization. So when we are sitting with the teams, we need to clearly understand that this is it that the organization wants, and this is it that you have to achieve. And when you get together, this is how you are going to, all of you are going to contribute to make this organization a success. Whenever we are able to see how do I fit into the bigger picture, we are able to perform better. When I'm able to see a sheet and it clearly says that, yes, you have 4 metrics. One is your performance related to your speed of work. One is relating to your customer satisfaction scores. Maybe the third relating to your discipline attendance. Maybe fourth relating to your speed of work and willingness to take up more responsibility. I know that this is what my organization wants from me. This is what my team wants. So I start it right. But communication also has other areas. And a lot of times, as leaders, we fail. Why? Because we are not able to give timely updates to the people. Say today, I have given goals to the team is working in a silo, and they in a day they were told that you have to process 20 emails, you have respond to all the customers, and you have to deal with these many interactions with the other departments. But then something changed with the other department. Say one person has left, or there is one department that has recently been added which is also doing another work. It is important that we inform all the members in the team in a timely manner that these many members are joining. And when they are joining, this is the work that they are going to be doing. So that people don't start feeling insecure that, they are doing half of my work. Am I being fired? People start thinking like that. So giving timely updates is important. Also, if say some individual has reached out to say the manager and said that I would want to, to progress in the organization, I want to move from customer service into sales. Will you get back to me? It has been 3 months, but there is no response from the boss. What happens? Leads to anxiety, leads to the person, he stops performing. The person starts working on the resume and starts looking for a job in sales in another organization. So communication is the key in team management. If after all we are dealing with the person's psychology, if we are dealing with the psychology, informing the person is important. Say in a month's time, I think I should clearly tell you should spend at least 3 months in this department, and learn the tricks of this department before I move you into another department. After 3 months, if it is not happening, come back to the person and say that, well, it will take some time, but I'm working on it. I have not forgotten you. Very important to tell them. And update about other departments, always official communication, at the same time a personal meeting. Important. Very important to keep everybody informed. So what do we say about the language and tone? Does that play an important role in communication? Anand sir, anything on this?
Yes, madam. As you mentioned, the language tone is very important. What tone it shows your behavior, and the tone should be acceptable, pleasant, at the same time affirmative.
Absolutely. So why I mentioned languages, language can be very deceiving. If you do not take the pause at the right time, or if you are sending a written, communication to people, at times we want to write like Shashi Tharoor. We all, want to be, that jazzy and be content writers and be creative in our writing style. But at times, what that does is either the person, and this is where I talk about the receiver's bill of rights. When you are writing a communication, you will always think about who is it that I'm writing this communication for? If I'm writing it for a larger population, I have to make it simple. I have to use the keep it short and simple theory. So it has to be short, it has to be simple, it has to be, the receiver should be able to understand it. So it should not have a lot of jargons in it. It should not sound in a way that the other person does not understand it. So very important, the communication has to be very clear and precise. For example, if today I am, deciding that I want, Mohan sir to handle the customer service team, the entire team. But what I do is, instead of saying very clearly, I will, I just speak to Mohan sir and I forget to tell anybody else. In my language that I send out to everybody, today Mohan sir will manage all the customer service. So the entire team is under the impression that all the 100 emails that are in customer service inbox will be managed by Mohan sir. Whereas I intended to say that today all the 10 people who are working in customer service have to complete their work and report to Mohan sir. So what happened at the end of the day? When I got back, I only realized that no work was done because Mohan sir was thinking that the team is working on the emails and customer interactions, and the team is thinking that Mohan sir is working on it. So very important that we are very clear with that communication. Hence, that language has to be very clear and has to say, Mohan sir will be leading the team today. You will be reporting all your work to him, and please ensure that you handle your queues and your emails the way you do on a daily basis. Your only reporting manager is changing. So important to say that. Tone. Do we think that an email can also have a tone? Yes, no, just in a chat window.
Yes, madam.
Do you think it has the power to demotivate people?
Sure.
Zafar sir.
Yeah, your mail can be rude also. You can be aggressive. So it will be, tone may not be the right way. So you're right.
Chidambra sir, if you get an email which is very rude, what would you want to do?
I would like to tone down my tone.
No, but if I am
And then
writing
try
a
to
very
be,
rude email to you and I expect you to do some work, would you want to do that work for me?
No.
No, definitely no.
Definitely not. Now on a face-to-face interaction, I know because of COVID, we are on, a virtual environment, but on a face-to-face, if I am talking to you and I talk to you in a condescending way, you haven't finished your work. How many times do I have to tell you that you have to send an email before you leave? Are you going to be happy? Zafar sir, would you want to talk to me again and complete any work that I give you when I talk to you like that?
If you are my boss, son, if you are my boss, no other go. I will grumble.
No, madam.
And I will try to do something.
But I'm very happy you said that. But will you be happy doing the work?
I may not be doing my justice in my reply. I may do a slipshod work.
Okay, so you would want to finish the work, but the first offer you get into another team and leave me and say bye-bye to Nitika, you'll take that, right? Wouldn't you?
Yes, yes.
It impacts the motivation of a person. So yes, communication has to be in the receiver's bill of right. The receiver does require respect. Whether that person is a team member or not does not matter. We are not in the same Aryan's culture of the Brahmas, the Kshatriyas, the Shudras. We are not in that. We are a democracy now. We are not talking about, these 3,000 years old culture. Now, everybody has self-respect. And I think the Constitution has given it to us. So the receiver's bill of right clearly is there that yes, you have to talk in a language which is crystal clear. You should give me clear directives. You should ensure that you do not talk in a condescending or a rude manner with me, and give the message respectfully, and I will complete my work respectfully. I'm going to move on to the next part. One was communication. I know this was brought up by, I think Chidambaram sir. Did you talk about trust?
Madam, yes.
Yes, you did.
I did. Chidambaram, yes.
So team management, like you rightfully said, Chidambaram sir, it is very important that you trust people, you respect people. But I also would want to point out that trust takes time. When a new team is formed, people will look at the manager and take time to understand their working style and see whether they even have the capability to lead the team or not. At the same time, the manager has a new team who's not trained on the role, does not know how to process the transactions that are given to them. So the manager also knows that I will take time to trust them. But at the same time, the manager needs to understand that they have to give them time to get there. So while they train them, teach them, but do it in a subtle manner so that they do not offend them. Because there's a thin line between, trust and respect. Because at times people do not understand when you give a responsibility to somebody and do not give them the authority to do it. So I have to trust them to do that, give them the space to do that work. And if I do not do that, then the person will definitely feel very neglected. The person will be dejected and probably would not like to continue with the organization. And maybe probably just change the function. Might just say that, no, I was a failure in sales. Probably that person was excellent in sales. It's just that the manager did not know when to let go, when to give them space, and when to give them the time to perform. Some of the areas that I do want to talk about in trust: transparency. If I am performing in a team, I would want to know what is happening with that. I would want to know that, have I really contributed enough or not? Or if there are any business decisions that are happening related to my team, would I want to be informed on time? Yes, no. If, say, something is happening in the organization, and I know COVID times, a lot of organizations have made a lot of changes. Something like working from home decision was taken initially. Then there were certain teams that were let go. There were certain teams that were given more responsibilities. Now, just take an example. Nitika is in a team, and Nitika, I can see that all the other people have been given some extra workload. Has also seen that there are some people who have probably started working from home, but she is expected to come to office every day, even during COVID times. What will I feel? Something is missing. I will
Definitely.
think that,
Yes.
yes, that somebody is not telling me what is happening in the organization. And when I am important in the organization, I am part of the organization, shouldn't I be part of somebody who should know what is happening around me? And this builds trust. So say I have decided that I have 5 people in my team. One is going to work from home because the person really stays far off. Nitika is staying only 5 minutes walking distance from office. Hence, it was decided that she can work from office itself. The other members have been given added responsibility of other departments because the department workload has gone down. If this is communicated to all the 5 team members together, wouldn't it be nice instead of sitting and doing a guesswork?
Yes. Right.
Transparency
It should be informed.
should totally be informed. Next in the line, what do you think I mean when I say keeping commitments and giving support? Anything on chat box you want to share?
Commitment means
Keeping the
that
promises given to the customer. Keeping the promises.
Chidambaran sir, given to the customer. Who is
Promises
the
to the
customer
customer.
in this?
Huh?
In this case, who's the customer?
team leader.
The boss or the colleagues, team leaders.
The commitment among the members of the team members.
Yes. So this is a commitment. In this case, the customer is the employee. Every employee is a customer of the organization. If you think of that from that angle, because we're talking about team management. We are talking about people. We are talking about dealing with people. Now, keeping commitments is more towards the employees. Now, I am probably managing a team of, say, 1,000 people, and there are around 50 teams who are managing that, 50 managers who are managing these teams. Today, because of COVID situation, I have to take a decision about, the employees, probably their, monthly, yearly appraisal and the money that they got as performance bonus. Tough situation. I am supposed to look at everything, keep commitments at the same time. Now, if I have to take a decision around it, definitely COVID times people might agree to stock and say that okay, bonus could be less, could be more, whatever. But from a boss's point of view, if I have the budget, if I have kept the budget and my organization is able to afford it, I should be able to give the promised money to them. It's a decision, different times, different places. Now I'm talking about an individual now. Bonuses are for everybody. When I'm taking an overall decision, yes, I might go little haywires because of the COVID situation. A lot of organizations have done that and people have understood that. But in a normal scenario, I have a person in my team who wants to spend extra time in the office and earn OT in overtime and get paid extra every day. I get that person to work 2 hours every day, and I promise that I will give you 100 rupees per day for spending that extra 2 hours in the office. At the end of 30 days, when the paycheck comes, the person doesn't get that money. He doesn't get the extra 3,000 rupees. What do you think that person will feel?
Definitely lose confidence.
Definitely.
He feels cheated. He feels cheated.
Will the person trust the manager who had promised this amount?
No,
Absolutely.
Never. So it is, if we really want people to like us, to perform for us, to work for us, we have to keep our commitments. We have to ensure that if we have promised, we take the HR approvals in advance, we speak to our boss in advance, and then give a commitment to somebody. So commitments sometimes can be small, sometimes can be big. Something related to, you can go home on Rakhi. Rakhi is a festival few people are celebrating. I have rostered you for an off on that day. And on the last minute, what we do is, oh, sorry, I forgot about it. You cannot take the leave. So it can be something as small as that, but something which is monetary as well. In both cases, if you have said something, keep the promise. Talking about support, whenever we have offered that, yes, we are going to help a person employee or an employee in a certain situation. Say the person has facing some issues at home, and we have agreed that I will give you the leave for, say, 1 week. After 1 week, you can come back. There is no extra workload for you. You can just do your workload at that point in time. There is no pending work for the 7 days that you missed work. If we have offered it, even if it means that Nitika has to herself go and process transactions, do it. Because if you've offered to give support, then keep your support coming. Don't ever burden the person. Equal and fair opportunities. A lot of times in an organization, we feel that, this person is the boss's favorite. There is an opportunity to go to US. This person is only going to get. Does it happen? Has it happened with anybody wherein they felt that the opportunity was not fairly given to them?
Yes.
At different times, different organizations. So it wasn't clear why that opportunity was given to somebody. So it is very important that the manager should come out as somebody who is fair in their judgment. If it is related to performance, they should state it very clearly that, well, the promotion is for people who are performing on X, Y, Z level. So if everybody is performing like that, and if there is also, something about client feedback. So I'm also looking at the client feedback. If the client is giving me this number feedback, say in a scale of 1 to 10, if the person is giving me 10 for that, for an individual, in addition to the performance, then the opportunity goes to that person. And if that one person has all of these attributes and a 10 from the client and receives that opportunity to go and work in the US office, will you feel that it is equal and fair?
Yes.
At times, tough to understand, because at times, yes, there could be two contenders for the same post, and maybe they had neck to neck performance. But this is the job of the manager, and this is where the manager's people skills comes in. The person should personally speak to the person who lost. Why? Because this person will be the first one to get demotivated. And since that person is a high performing individual, you do not want that person to leave the organization. So it is better that at that time, immediately you have a chat with the person who just lost by a few points and say that, well, you know what, you were very close, but you should know that the next opportunity is yours. Also, there are a lot of other opportunities that will keep arising. And as and when, if you keep performing like this, don't let your performance go down. If you keep performing like that, you definitely are a person who's next in the line to get X, Y, Z opportunity. Sounds fair? Very important, personalization. Whenever we are dealing with people, it is always important that we build, a kind of a PR with them, a personal relation. PR is just personal relation, right? And personalization is only about understanding the team. And a lot of people, while they grow up, the chain, and they become, senior in their lives, they forgot that they also started somewhere. And when a person knows you by your name, by your department, they feel good about you. So as a leader, it is important that we build an emotional connect with our team. So whether it is a team leader who's only managing a team of 20 people or a manager who's managing a shop of 300 people, it is important that that person builds an emotional connect. Difficult to remember all 300 names. Perfectly understandable. But whenever you receive the charts, you keep getting updates with names and photographs. Always good to register as much as possible. And say if there is an opportunity, say for a team leader, if they are having, a feedback session or one-on-one session, perfect time to build an emotional connect. I know a lot of times people don't like to talk about their families, their environment, but at the same time, this is something that also builds the emotional connect. So if the person is talking to you, they would want to talk about their, families, their children. They would want to talk about, their learning, their college, their friends in college. It's always good to find a common area that you can talk about. Somebody likes sports, good, build an emotional connect around it. Try and remember that this is what you spoke about. X person, say Rahul is great in cricket. Next time there is a discussion about cricket and a cricket team, ensure that you remember that Rahul is good at it and go back to it. So these kind of small things that you build, it builds an emotional connect with people. Always acknowledge and appreciate. I think we spoke about, okay, we didn't talk about the acknowledgement part. We spoke about confidence building. That will come later. Acknowledging people's performance, acknowledging their small efforts. Example, the team really did well, but they were not able to perform at the level that their client wanted them to. You could see that, say the client wanted a 10 score and the team was at 1 score. The team made a lot of effort, but within whatever time they had, they could only achieve 8. Would you want to appreciate them for that?
Still, yes.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. They made, yeah, agreed. They made a lot of effort to reach, from a 1 to an 8 is quite a big journey. And now that they've reached 8, they are not far from 10, and they know how to progress. And progression just happens step by step. So they should be there. So very important to even acknowledge these. But yes, appreciation also to individuals helps. Say in this entire team, which moved from a 2 to 8, there are 5 members who are at 10. Giving out cards to them, saying that you are the role models of the group. I'm sure you bring inspiration to the floor, having their placards or giving them placards, and also putting their best practices on board for people to learn from is really going to help. And when people see positive motivation, they also want to perform better. So a person who was only at a 4 would look at this person's best practices and want to be there at 10 as well. Do we have any question?
No, Nitika, it was just an interference. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So very
I
important.
got one, Nitika, I got one small thing to say.
Yes, sir.
If the team has achieved 8 and not reached 10, and it has come from 1 to 8, then leader, while promoting the team to achieve 10, same time he has to look within himself where he has missed to motivate the team to reach 10. That's my idea.
Very good. This food for thought, Naren sir. There is definitely, when we are setting team targets, we look at achievable targets and we look at internal targets. An internal target could be the one that the client has set. But, during all the practicalities, we also know that in a month's time, if a person has to move from 1 to 8, probably my actual achievable target based on the system could only have been 7. If it was only 7, then the team has actually done what they were supposed to. And a lot of times the client and the customer would not understand that. He would want it at 10 within a month's time. But we know that there is a progressive cycle in that. But again, if we feel that our capacity as per the target that we laid was at 10, then definitely, while we acknowledge, we appreciate some of the people who got a 10 score from the client, we at the same time go back, plug in all the gaps, and ensure that we give feedback to people and give positive motivation to people. And here, since you pointed out, I do want to talk about 2 ways of giving feedback: negative motivation, positive motivation. Naren sir, what do you think we should go for?
It was sometimes negative motivation also works. I agree with you. But here, what you said, I didn't digest. You have got us goal for 7 and you push them for 10, and if they reach 8, you are very happy and you appreciate them. If the team comes to know that your expectation was only 7, next time when you set a goal, will the team believe you? That is my question.
Oh, okay. So maybe I wasn't okay. The system might have only a limitation that from a progression in 30 days, as per my project, I will only be able to achieve 7. But that is something that as a manager, you sit and decide that, okay, this is happening. I will give them the goal that the client has given. Client goal is still 10. I will only give performance bonus to people who have achieved a 10. I cannot give a performance bonus to anybody who's achieved less than 10. But again, in a month's time, the system has a capacity to only reach that. But then after a month, another 15 days, everybody should be able to achieve 10. So that is the example that I wanted to give in this case. Talking about negative and positive motivation. If as you want to be a people's person, you want your team to like you, you want your team to work with you, it always works psychologically to give positive motivation to people. And if you are able to give positive motivation, why give negative motivation? I'll give a completely different example in this case. A class teacher has certain children in the class, and it happens in my son's class also, who are very naughty. Now, what she does with the naughty kids is she tells them that you get out of my classroom. Negative motivation. What happens the next time? Oh God, we'll get a free period. You know, we should make a maximum noise. The teacher will tell us to leave the class. Positive motivation. You tell them, you identify that these are the 3 people who are very naughty in the class. You go to them, and this is something that happened very recently. And one of my son's class teacher did that. She made them the class monitors. So the 3 monitors were supposed to see who are the ones who are doing the work and who are not doing the work. The moment they became an authority and they had to write down who are misbehaving, somewhere something changed. Positive motivation, these were the same set of children who started to behave themselves. The moment they realized that they are being watched and they are watching others and they are given the responsibility of watching people, that trust helped them, along with positive motivation, to build etiquettes. Very small example, but again, it's a larger topic to talk about. But I just wanted to state that positive motivation helps.
Madam, may I give one example, madam, if there is time? May I, Chidambaram here?
Sure, sir. Yes, sure, sir.
I am the General Secretary and Managing Trustee of an NGO called Exnora International. ITC has tied up with us for projects in Madurai Meenakshi Amman Temple, Sri Ranganatha Temple, and Kabalishwar Temple. We're supposed to use bins there. In the review, they really gave us, fired us, the authorities from the sponsors. Really negative motivation, as you said. But being the chief coordinator, I gave the positive also. But I never had faith we will achieve it. They said 50 each. But to my surprise, yesterday when I called up the people, now itself they have achieved 30. That is 70% of the percentage. So at times it works. When their job is on fire, these 3 people in Madurai, Trichy, and these 3 temples, they have achieved 30 out of 50 bins. Sometimes it works along with.
So it's a mix, definitely, sir. That yes, preferably if you are talking about team management as a subject, and you're talking about that I want my positive motivation for the team and I want to retain my entire team. So hence you want to use that. But yes, you have to use different tricks at different times. Hence, they are part of management.
May I interfere, madam? Madam Kritika?
Yes, sir.
Another question. So long you are maintaining the transparency, so long you are fair and square to everybody, this problem will never exist.
Absolutely, sir.
That's what already discussed, transparency, fair and square opportunity. So you have to object everything, analyze objectively, not doing any favorism, then team will accept.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they would. Thank you, sir. Moving on personalization, very important thing that I want to talk about is ownership. It doesn't 100% lie under personalization only, but ownership is a trait that can take people, really high in life. Why? Because it's a rare trait. A lot of people would take a job offer, but not take the ownership of executing the task. At times, the task also requires you to go the extra mile. So an important trait as a manager is also to take ownership of your team. There are times when the team fails, like we just talked about, we never achieved the 10. It's my ownership as well. So like sir said that I failed as well. I need to go back and evaluate. So as part of my ownership, I will also go back and say that, yes, we failed as a team, but we will succeed as a team. So you own your team. So as part of team management, taking ownership of your team is very important. Not only do the blame game and say that, no, I will fire XYZ because they didn't perform. No, give them a fair opportunity, own your team, they will definitely be there. For team management, it is very important for the leader or the boss or the manager to interact with the teams. Like I pointed out, if say you are a manager who's leading a team of 1,000 people, you cannot meet everybody every time, but you can definitely plan it over a quarter. You can definitely plan it over, a weekly time. If you see people in the lift, in the corridor, make sure that you take advantage of it. Make sure that you do stop and say hello. At least smile. That's all that is required. Or say that, well, if you know that somebody is in a certain department, appreciate them for that 1 minute and say that, well, I'm very happy your reports of your team are looking really nice. Great trends. For a team manager, for a team leader who's leading a team, very important that you're meeting daily. Very important that you are having a team huddle, starting of the day, end of the day, your decision. You can decide you want both, or you just want one, or you want alternate days. But if you are leading the frontliners, you have to meet them regularly. The manager who has 4 or 5 team leaders, uh, important that you do your weekly reviews for sure. Every day, meet your DRs, which is direct reportees, every day. You should be able to guide them every day that, okay, from yesterday, this is what we have achieved. This is what we have to achieve tomorrow, and give them clear-cut targets for the next day. But your reviews should be along with the team matrix. And looking at the team matrix, you should be able to guide them. Always value every employee's time. You might be a manager managing 1,000 people, but that employee who has a meeting scheduled with you is also managing 50 transactions in a day. If you have given them a time of, say, a certain time, 5 p.m., we will have a meeting for 20 minutes, ensure that you are there on time. And if you're not able to make it, please inform that employee on time. Don't make them wait for an hour or so just to tell them that, sorry, I'm tired, my previous meeting got extended, I'll meet you tomorrow. Never be casual about time, because time will appreciate those who appreciate time. So give that time to them. Always visibly lead. I remember when I was in GE, and it happened with one of us. Our CEO was on the floor, and the phone was ringing. Apparently, the person who was taking the call, that person wasn't feeling well and had to immediately run to the washroom, and somebody had to take the call. And our CEO just walked in and he saw that something has happened. He didn't have the time to call the managers or the vice presidents or anybody. He immediately picked up the phone, and he just said that, hi, I am Pramod. Could you, tell me what the issue is? The person who was speaking to you had this. And he, believe me, that one incident changed the lives of all the 1,000 people on the floor. We had a big, huge floor. People could visibly see this gentleman taking over that call. So always ensure that if you want people to follow you, lead by example. Very easy to say that, team, I want you to do X, Y, Z by tomorrow. Well, when the time really is required, sit with them and do it. At times we have a situation, suddenly I had a friend after COVID, they had a lot of requirement of the sanitizers. They were into that organization. And this guy who was the manager, he was basically from a different department in sales. They had to fulfill the orders. You can't even imagine, the entire team got together to fulfill the orders and start sending the sanitizers to people immediately. So it was not only the frontline person who was there, the manager, the senior manager, the VP, they were all sitting and packing the consignment for the orders to go out. So sometimes when your process requires it, visibly lead them. Data management, important.
Yes.
Very important. Visibility of data. Today I gave a KPI to people. I told them that these are your performance indicators. Am I recording them? As a manager, have I found a system to find a person's transactions completed in a day? Have I found a way to get the customer's feedback? If I'm getting the feedback, am I recording it in a way that it should be visible to them? Is the attendance, which is part of the metrics, being recorded every day? Is it dependent on a third party to give the attendance? So say if I am the team leader and I have 10 people reporting to me, I should on a daily basis maintain the record of the work and progress by each and every individual in my team. I should be able to say that, okay, yesterday maximum transactions were done by X person or Y person. So I should be able to see my attendance matrix should be maintained while HR can also maintain it. It's fine. But if it is part of my compensation in terms of my incentives, then my boss should maintain it on a daily basis. Important to record it, not only to record an individual, the 10 members' performance, but also on a daily basis, ensure that I am keeping the performance of the entire team in mind. So if I've maintained my team performance on a daily basis, every day I'm adding one data point. By the end of 1 week, I have 1 week. Then I can have a week on week comparison and I can make a monthly chart. The monthly chart in itself becomes a yearly chart. So if I have a discipline for data management and I'm writing and putting my data regularly, do you think if I ask for, as a boss, I ask for the data from any person in my team, it should just take 5 minutes to receive it? Yes, no?
Yes, yes, very much yes.
So on a daily basis, yes, some people don't have a discipline, but we always know who in our team is lazy, who is the one who will not save the file. So it is very important that we, in our daily quick reviews that we have, we tell them, I hope you're saving the data now. I hope you have put the attendance of all the employees today. Can I review the team weekly performance? If you are regularly reviewing it, the person will ensure that he does it. So this is the negative motivation also here, where I'm checking it. Once I have my data, I should regularly give feedback to my team along with data. Never go with perception whenever you go in a feedback session with people. I could not really sit in a feedback session with an individual and say that, you know what, I think lately your absenteeism has increased. And the data only signifies that that person has 100% attendance. So always better not to go on perception, because at times, my team leader comes and tells me that, I have a problem with Ravi. Ravi has an issue with performance. He's not answering as many emails that he is supposed to do in a day. And without taking the data, I sit in a session with Ravi only to realize that Ravi is actually outperforming the team. Ravi is actually a person who is liked more than the team leader. Because the team leader is jealous, he's making this statement about Ravi. So always better to get into a session with data and give the feedback in a timely manner. So if I have decided that, okay, my performance bonus is monthly, and after I have announced the performance bonus based on the performance, isn't it a good time that give them feedback monthly to people so that they can perform better and get better bonus next month? So if it is a monthly bonus, yes, no?
Yes, it gives them an idea where they stand, how much they have to go, clarity.
Absolutely. So they know clearly where they have to, go, and where is it that they're failing. A lot of times when the data is not shared with the person, vis-a-vis the rest of the team and the team performance and the team goals, they suddenly realize that they never even looked at the team goals. Somewhere they were only looking at their own performance. So next month, they will look at the team performance and see that how I can be in the lead, by doing better than the team. Important grievance management. Whenever we are dealing with people, there'll always be some problem or the other, because people are people, they behave differently. Some people have psychological issues, some people have issues at home, some people have problems at home, old parents, maybe children, maybe commitments at home, and they are not performing, but somebody is pulling them in the office. So important that we manage grievance in a positive manner. Sometimes it could be related to behavior also. A female member in the team comes and says, I really do not like the way my boss talks to me. And it happens quite a lot, especially being a woman boss. I used to get a lot of it. I would only observe my managers and only realize that because they are not gender sensitive, they do not realize that there are certain statements they do not make in front of the colleagues that they are working with. Something like one of my boss said that, and I was really taken aback. uh, uh, he talked about one of my colleagues in a big meeting where 10 other colleagues were there, and he says, oh, she's not come again, she must be changing diapers today. And I'm sure the lady came to know about it, but at times we don't realize that this could have become a grievance. I had a manager whose entire team, they had grievance against him, complaint against him. When I got into understanding the issue with the manager, I realized that he was a taskmaster. So what he would do is, if the target was given as 20, he would expect them to complete 30 transactions in a day, just because he wanted his team to be the best. In this entire deal, because all the other team members were talking to each other, they started having a problem that why is it that our team has a target of 30 and all the other have a target of 20? It became a big issue against the manager. And then we had to handle it later on. Now, in this entire situation, as a boss, it is very important that you handle the grievance in a timely manner. The moment you could hear that something is wrong in the team, you don't let it reach the vice president. We don't want anybody to send a big stinker to the CEO. You don't want big things to happen in the team where people stop performing or do a strike and say that from now onwards this team is not coming to office, or stop coming to the office at all. The moment you pick up clues on a grievance, immediately handle it. And if somebody has come to your face and said that I have an issue and the entire team has an issue, take it seriously and act upon it.
Ma'am, why can't you put grievance under personalization?
Uh, Actually, yes, it is. A lot of these are interrelated. If you ask me, grievance could be under personalization as well. But the way we understand in a corporate world, a grievance has to be recorded. It has to be, a clear HR structure is in place for that. Hence, under data management, so that you do report the grievance, you do clearly state what is it that you're doing about it and what was the final action taken. Because in a lot of organizations, when you take it on a verbal level, later on, if it becomes an HR issue, you are responsible for not documenting it. Hence, under data management, sir. While there is a lot of personalization required here. So did I answer your question? Okay, HR and other paperwork. In data management, I do want to talk about in team management. A lot of times when we hire people, get into our teams, there is a basic requirement for all the teams. Sometimes when it is not done at the right time and you do it later, it leads to a lot of problems, which is people related at the end of it. I wanted to point it out, not a big area, but very important that all the HR related and other paperwork are always filed in a timely manner. Anything that is related to bonus, monthly incentives should always be filed properly, should always be documented and shared with HR in the timely manner. Papers related to qualifications. If a person is stated that for this job, a certain qualification is required, and that person is not holding that position or does not have a certificate, do that while you get that person in your team. Don't make him a veteran and don't get him working with the client transaction and realize at the end of it that that paperwork was never filed. So just a small head out, but just pointing it out. Sorry. We are dealing with people at all point in time. I'm just going to move this head a little bit. Yeah. Very important when we are dealing with people, different people respond differently. Different people have different requirements. And since we spoke about personalization over here, a lot of times in our teams, we'll always have people who might not be motivated with, say, an incentive. They might be only motivated with the training. They might be motivated only with somebody speaking politely with them. So there are different tricks. There are different things that motivate different people. At the same time, there are different things that motivate, but there are different things that demotivate people as well. So one has to be very wary of it, that if something is not working well and you have received the feedback, reevaluate your style, re-strategize, and go back to your original way of working, change your style a little bit so that it helps you manage your team better. Any questions on this slide? I think we can take it in the end else. Patrick Lencioni has written a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of Team. While I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, if a book is written on this topic, I'm sure there's a lot of detail stated in that. But I did want to point out that few things that impact a team. Say you get a team together and they do not trust each other. And if they do not trust each other, there's an absence of trust. What it leads to is that in case they have to take a decision together for the team's benefit, they might not, because they do not trust each other, they do not want to get into a conflict. And because they do not want to get into a conflict when they are deciding the strategy of the team, they do not contribute to it at all. When they do not contribute to that strategy at all, then what it will lead to is their lack of commitment. Say in my team, I have 10 people in my team. I'm working with them. They don't trust me, but they think that she's the boss. And they think that if they disagree with me, then probably I'll fire them. And they do not contribute to what could have been a better plan. Maybe somebody in my team was had the better ability or better suggestions how to handle that situation better, but they did not contribute. But because they are afraid of me, they don't trust me, they just are quiet. I come up with a strategy and I say, this is what we are going to do. What is going to happen? They will have lack of commitment. They would not like to contribute to that. Probably they might even have ambiguity and not understand that how can this thing be handled better? And they go with a plan which they don't agree with. They do not have a commitment to it. And there will not be a parity between accountability and their performance, because they will automatically say that it is her responsibility only. No, she took the decision, then I'm not going to be accountable for what happens out of it. And what it leads to is bad results. So a very, very interesting study, interesting book to read to understand how, what are the things that could go wrong. So when we are dealing with people, it is important that how this dysfunction can occur. I wanted to read this line from, the key learning from this book. If you get all the people in an organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry, in any market, against any competition, at any time. On that thought, I want you to just think about it for a minute. You have a team which has perfect synergies. You have a team which understands each other. They are cohesive. They understand each other's strengths, weaknesses. They understand the goals. They want to contribute. Such a high performing team, if it is together, it can be expanded and it helps the organization do better. Any comment on this? Maybe you can share a question or something in the chat window. Shall I move on, Mohan sir?
Yeah.
Will I have the right to share the audio also in this video?
You can do that.
Okay, if I while there is not much of an audio, the audio is only share computer sound. Okay, I'm going to play this clipping. It's from a movie which I recently saw. I think it is in Amazon. It's about a dog, and he's taken and by a person who's leading a pack of wolves or pack of dogs, and these are all snow dogs, and they are used for transporting stuff from one place to the other. Let's look at this video clipping and we can discuss it. I hope you're able to see it. Any thoughts on this clip?
Yes, it's a good example about leadership. A true example of a leader.
Yeah. So the one that is who looks like a wolf, that dog is clearly supposed to be the leader of the pack, and he behaves in a certain manner. But the other one is the true leader, right? Okay. So on that note, I want to talk about some of the traits of a desired leader. So what kind of a boss would we want to have? You know, do we like an egoistic or self-centered boss? You know, I am this, I am the best. It is because of me that this team is performing and we are getting all the business in this organization. Would you like to report to such a boss?
No, no.
And self-centered, always only me, me, me. Does that work in a team? The only lingo that works in a team is we and us. A lot of times, yes, there are individual contributors, right? And even a boss could be an individual contributor. And, you know, there is the Maslow's law that we've spoken about. Everybody has, you know, they want to satisfy their ego at one point in time and want to say that I did well. But one can always silently celebrate also, right? And you don't need to always say that I did this. We as a team did it. Let the other person praise you. Give an opportunity, because the day you stop praising yourself, other people will start finding the good things that you did and they will start praising you for that. I think it was Anand sir who spoke about the autocratic and democratic leadership. Yes, sir. Are you there in the session? I cannot see. Yeah, he's there. Anand sir.
Yeah, I'm there, very much there, listening.
Very much. Yes. So I saved that, you know, while talking about the leadership style, because a leadership style could be either a democratic could mean that, you know, you give all the authority to your team and say that do the way you want to, you know, I'm only going to look at the stats at the end of the day. You could also be an authoritative leader, wherein you will just say that, you know, I am the one who's telling you to do, you will do exactly what you are, you know, supposed to do. Something like we identify a Hitler with that style. He had that style of work. We would also like another style which is in between the authoritative and the autocratic and democratic. Somebody who takes the best of both and somewhere in between and says that, well, I allow you to do your work and I give you the space to do the work, but these are the guidelines for it. And let's just keep talking as we move along so that we are able to, perform better. You get your space to work, but at the same time, you also know that these are your goals and whether you are achieving it and how you can achieve it or not, I can help you with that. So very important as a leader or as a boss, if you're also a guide, it works. Because not everybody is born with 1,000 trainings, you know. Our school doesn't teach us how to work in a corporate world. When you do your engineering, you are not talk about or spoken, you're not told how to, you know, manufacture a car if you're part of the production factory. As a leader, as a boss, you will have to give them a training that, okay, these are the 5 principles you have to keep in mind. This is how you work, and this is what you achieve. And hand holding, if it is a crucial part of the business, and ensuring that you watch from distance, if they are doing wrong and it has impact on the business, you tell them when to correct it. Would anybody like an aggressive boss? Just loses in every meeting, you know, some glass is broken. I don't think anybody would want an aggressive boss.
Absolutely
We
not.
would want we want somebody who speaks politely. Yes, it is okay to get angry when your team doesn't perform or does a big mistake. Say somebody by mistake sent a very casual email to the customer, which led to a loss of business. Yes, you are bound to be angry. You are bound to be upset with that individual. But saying the same thing, the person is as it is dying in guilt. It is better to use an assertive and a mature tone and say that, well, what you did was incorrect. There will be repercussions. But at the same time, uh, I understand that you have guilt of it. We'll try and see whatever we can do to correct it. Maybe you might have to fire that person, but you don't have to be aggressive and shout on the floor and demotivated all the other people on the floor who are not even involved in that transaction. Because the moment you see somebody angry right in front of you, it impacts every person who sees that angry person. So you don't want everybody to take that from there. Be patient, be relaxed, handle it maturely. We spoke about guides or leaves you to fend. I think we already spoke about hand holding people and ensuring that they reach where they have to. There are times when, as a boss, you fail, you make mistakes. It's never good to ever put it on the team and say that, you know what, Raj in my team made the mistake. Raj is not a responsible person. We should fire him. No, own up to your mistake, right? When you are a team, you are one group. You have to say that, yes, if we achieve as a group. If we fail as a group. But yes, as a manager, I think I had a misjudgment. I did think that Raj will be able to complete the night shift and take care of all the transactions in the night. But probably I misjudged, and we had a slip of 3 transactions, which we answered maybe 5 hours late. Made a mistake, but I learned from it. But don't ever play the blame card with your team. Some of the other areas, whenever you look at your boss and why knowledge is in the center, is because in any department, say if I am handling a team in insurance, I have to have the subject matter expertise. If I'm the manager leading a team of people or experts handling insurance plans for customers, I need to know my product. So knowledge, you cannot get away with it. As a boss, you have to learn about your product. You have to learn how the transactions are done, what are the systems, what are the tools that are used by the team. It is very important, and there is no getting away from it. Some of the basic things in a corporate environment and even a non-corporate environment, say an NGO, like Sir just recently gave an example, etiquettes. Etiquettes is my personality. People will look at me and expect a certain standard of etiquettes. I cannot be bad mouthing. I cannot be using abusive language, bad words. I cannot be using a condescending tone. I have to have a certain principles in the way I talk with people and deal with people. That is basic. Grooming, while it is not totally under etiquettes, but yes, some part of grooming is also required when we talk about etiquettes. I would want a boss who has a clear vision. Why? Why would I want a boss who has a clear vision? Any thoughts?
Without
If my,
clear vision, can't be.
Because he can guide me properly.
yes,
He will
so that you,
take me along paths, right?
yeah, agreed. Yes.
To
So
avoid blind leading the blind.
blind leading the blind. So if I know that I'm a person who's a visionary, I will be able to not only take my team to the next level, I will be able to take my organization to the next level. So whoever you talk about, the big industrialists, aren't they visionaries? Tata, Ambani, Birla, all visionaries. They could see things ahead of time. They could plan ahead of time. These days, I keep hearing stories of people, a person, an entrepreneur who started the business of making these injections for COVID. Right now, he's supplying to most of the developed countries of the world because he was a visionary. He could see 1.5 years back that when the vaccine will come, they will need injections. So while a lot of companies and the world, the rest of the world was working on making the vaccine, this gentleman invested his time and money in making only injections, and he's selling millions every day. And his organization is minting millions right now. That is the vision I'm talking about, that you can see things ahead of time. And if you are the person who sees things ahead of time, your team will always be motivated to follow you because they know that from where you are, you can see way more than what they are seeing from their myopic view at this point in time. So leading in the right direction, like you rightfully just said. Very important, your leader should have a clear thought and judgment. At times, when you are dealing with clients, when you're dealing with systems, when you're dealing with businesses, even say if you are in an engineering background where the judgment is very important. If a person is able to break, okay, I have designed, my team has designed a particular article which is supposed to give this kind of an output. It is not able to. If that person is able to immediately in his thought process find all the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clearly and say that, okay, as per my judgment, a common error has to be made in the process X because we did not give it enough input to give the exact output. If that person knows the business, knows the job, his judgment will always be better. And people will always trust that person. So in a department, say if a department is into, I deal a lot in customer service. A customer comes to us and he says that I did not receive my shipment. Normally, my judgment is very clear. I know that my particular one agent has a problem of writing incorrect addresses. My judgment is clear. I immediately go and check the address was incorrectly written, so it was incorrectly delivered. Small transaction, but I'm able to solve it faster. So my team should be able to trust me based on my thought and judgment based on the processes that we work with. Knowledge here is definitely primary. When I talk about connections here, any guesses what I'm talking about?
Connections with people who matter, who can influence and who can be of value to the organization.
Absolutely.
Chidambaram
Very
here.
important. It is very important that you are able to see one of the job of a manager and a boss is to constantly make connections with others. Do PRing, have emotional connect with other departments, other colleagues. If I'm seen as a manager who has, who has good PRing with all the other managers and maybe seniors and even with the client, I'll always be liked by my team and I can lead better. So as this is part of my job, right? To know those people, to convert every transaction into a winning transaction. So if I'm well connected with people around, good. At the same time, if I'm into a supply chain management kind of a business, if I know who are the vendors in the market and I have the exact person who can provide the exact solution to my problem, and I'm able to give at least 3 choices to my boss, do you think my boss will like me? I'm making life easy for my boss. He better like me. So my investment with people, with building connections is always going to be worth it. One, I make friends. Second, it is helping my business. And third, it is also helping their business. So good for my team. My team will always want somebody who will say that, you know what, that other manager, he's got something. You want to check what is the best practices that they are doing, because their performance level is better. If that boss is my friend, he'll always give me that information. And it helps my team as well.
May
Gratitude.
I interpret, Ms. Nitika?
Yes, please.
Another question here. The connection means, as you rightly mentioned, instead of getting in contact, being connect is very important. Many times people have only the address mail, only they'll be in contact, but they will not be in real connection. Here, connection only works that.
Absolutely. I think I missed this part. Thank you so much for saying this. So it is not only, having a contact list, but, have an emotional connect with them. Ensure that they know you. And yes, there could be times when they also might reach out to you and say that, I need a favor from you. And they might ask you to, help you with a certain transaction. Be ready to do that as well. After all, in a people's organization, this is what people managers do. One of the most important one, gratitude. Well, like we were talking about a team that went from a 1 to 8, and it had 5 people who were at 10. Maybe in that team, a person who was actually at a 1 probably had just reached 5. But we could see that that person had a death in the family, was struggling with certain issues at home, was still making time, extra time to ensure that they come up to speed. I will have gratitude for that person as well. Maybe that person didn't do well, but yes, I will also have gratitude for all those 5 people who did well. Gratitude could also be somebody, when your team at times works for a certain target, achieves it as well, gratitude. Does not achieve it, gratitude. Gratitude is required at every stage. And if you feel it, your team will see it. Your team will feel that, yes, you are also a person who appreciates them and would want to work for you. Because I'm sure a lot of times you would have heard this statement: people work for people. They don't work for bosses. They work for people. So if they believe you as a person, they will perform and outperform. A lot of these tips we've already spoken about, and I will just quickly, go through these. Very important. We give the workload to a person based on his capacity. Say a person has qualifications in a computer, hardware, and I give him a work related to content writing. I don't think I'm using that person's strength very well. So always there has to be, the workload has to be given based on the person's ability to do that work, based on training, capacity. And I cannot tell a person to do some other department's work. If the person doesn't have the capability to do it, then do the training and give the work to them. It has to be based on their key performance indicator as well. And if it is an external work, they should understand that this is over and above the KPIs. Very important management principle. There has to be a parity of accountability and responsibility. If I have a team leader and I say, you are responsible for all these 10 people, and every day I go and pick up one person from the team and give my own work to that person, which is not even related to the team. Obviously, the team has one person less, and he is expected to perform with 9 people and do the work which is required from 10 people. Is it parity? It is not. Also, if I have given the authority to that person and responsibility, he is accountable. If I have given it to somebody else and I expect this person to answer, again, not correct. Very important. Keep in mind, when you're dealing with people, they need space, they need time to de-stress, they need work-life balance. Everything is not office, everything is not work. Let them have a personal life also. Many bosses fail to use their employee engagement budgets. If the organization policy is very clear that the end of March, your budgets will lapse, people still forget that they had to plan ahead of time and do something for the people, whether it is upskilling, which could be training, it could be a de-stressing activity, it could be celebrations, rewarding, has to be planned ahead of time. So when you receive your budgets for employee engagement, do it on time and plan it on time. Don't let those budgets, just expire because you did not pay attention. A big motivation for employees is always regular trainings and feedback. Always use any feedback exercise as an opportunity to build trust, an opportunity to have an emotional connect, an opportunity to positively motivate the employee. If you have the data and you've already thought about what are the things that the person can improve on, do better, ensure that you give it in a positive manner, and the person, when the person comes out of the feedback session, is able to perform better. Plan relevant training. Let trainings be not only on need basis, but also based on the upskilling chart or the major plan that the person has in their life. At times, teams do not work well together. There could be two people who dislike each other for whatever reasons. Maybe they are just competitive. Maybe their stats do not work well. Whatever the reason may be for people not being able to work together, the manager has to identify it and plan a team engagement activity to ensure that these people understand each other and work as one function. Because think of it, if people are working for their individual goals, I don't know whether the team goals would be met or not. One individual is at 10 and all the other individuals at 5. That person at 10 is not ready to help anybody and guide them, help them. So a team engagement will always help them perform better. I'm sure we all like to work in a happy environment. Do we? I remember in one of my processes, my boss would come every day and take a session of 1 hour and spend 1 hour in scolding the entire team. Believe me, it used to happen every day. There came a time that the team started giving up. They were very demotivated. They couldn't perform. Somewhere we had to draw a line. I know it was a tough one because it was my boss who was giving, the firing to the team directly. Somewhere I had to go to my boss and say, sir, from tomorrow, can I take the team meetings, please? I will give you results. Just give me some freedom. I'm very thankful that that boss really took the feedback really well. And he said, okay, I will only review with the team leaders every week. And he said, if your team performs, I will not do any firing. Well, the first time around, we stopped the firing session. We started creating a happy team engagement activities, team meeting, team huddles, lightened the environment. And then we started working on the individual needs of each employee. I think immediately the moment the day started with happiness, it automatically started showing in the team stats. And automatically when the team started performing, my boss was happy. My boss started giving happy meetings and happy feedback to everybody. So the environment definitely lightened after that. It really helps to have that environment, not a stressed one. Very important, every day at team level, at individual level, we need to give a regular motivation boost to people. Always say, you're doing good, do better. Well, you're on the right path. Awesome work. Very important. There are certain people who like their privacy. They also do not want to share, about their family and, how they're feeling about what happened. Say they had a death in the family, they don't want to talk about it. We need to appreciate their sentiments. There are some people on their desk, you will see that they will not have their family photographs. You want to ask them, why is it that you don't have them? But always appreciate their privacy, always give them space. Don't get too personal with them, because sometimes people do get offended as well. You don't want to use positive, your team management in the wrong manner, just want them to understand you and appreciate them. Be neutral and be watchful of the disparity that is happening. At times, you will be asked to take a stance. Two people had a fight. They will say, well, you will have to, take a decision about this person in the team or that person in the team. Always visibly be neutral with people. We spoke about gender sensitivity. Never encourage gossip or grapevine. Always delegate and give space to people, and be on a standby to help them whenever it is required. Last of the slide, why it is related with the team management, because I wanted to also show to everybody that they both are related.
Deepika, can you go back to that previous slide?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Is employee motivation related to all the conversations we just had?
Yes.
It is? Okay. So let's talk about what all. Does it, we're going to talk about all these things that motivate people. When you have clear directions, you have clear goals, you don't have a shifting goal. A lot of teams fail because their goals change every day, every hour. A goal was given today, and the next day, that when the review is happening, you are asked about something else. You are expected to perform over something which is a dream of a boss. So no, it has to be a clear goal, and it has to be clear direction. The goal cannot keep changing every day. Trust is motivation. When you trust your boss, when the boss trusts you, it's a two-way road. A lot of organizations talk about, freedom of thought and space to work. I don't know how many times we do that. We will ask for, one of our DRs, and we'll say, give us a report in, by 5 o'clock in the evening. But we will send 20 reminders before 5 o'clock for that person to send that report to us. Just because we don't want him to fail, and maybe we don't want to fail ourselves, we don't give him the space, we don't trust that person, so we keep disturbing that person. And by disturbing, we delay the report ourselves. It's always good to train people. It's always good to give an opportunity for people to grow in their life. So if a person does want to become a team leader, and you have a program in-house which offers them to become a team leader, what are the traits of a team leader, what should you do if there's a learning opportunity, please give them continuously. And we've spoken about all of them. Appreciate people. Timely, constructive feedback, fair opportunities. Isn't this all we just spoke about? A positive environment. And this is all along with all the other things that we talk about, employee motivation, whether it is company policy, status, relationship, supervision, job security, very important for motivation, pay and benefit, working conditions. So this actually, the base we think from the surface is all these 5, which is pay and benefit and job security. But actually in the background, the ones that we're talking about in team management, all those traits are the ones that are required. Any questions? on this slide first, and then on the session by and large.
All the points what you have given the last slide is very much clear and acceptable and needed.
Thank you, sir. So this brings us to the end of the session. I think we have how much time left? I think 7 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes. So I would want you to, ask any questions or anything that you want to add at this point in time.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question.
Mhm.
If one of the team members leaves and he wants to join again, so what would
Mhm.
be the position of the team leader? Should he take him back or not?
Naren sir, a lot of there are a lot of attributes in this one. I will go with my experience totally. If that employee was a negative motivation, was a misfit, was not able to perform in the team, probably we might not rehire him. But if that person was a positive motivation, had genuine reasons for leaving the organizations, maybe mother, father were not well, had to take care of them, couldn't come to office only because of that, or had some problem in the village, some dispute, understandable reasons when people do have to leave during such a situation. And if that person is a positive motivation for the team, definitely hiring back is always a success story to share with the others. Did I answer part of your question, Naren sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Nitika, may I request you to close the sharing screen?
Oh, okay. I will. While I'm doing that, Mohan sir, would you also look at the expectation list and let me know if there's anything that is missed? I think I'm able to see the chat, so I quickly go through that, and maybe you can help me if I've missed out from that. First, team collaboration in difficult times. I think we'll have to pick that up in a later session, maybe. Under a toxic box.
Yeah.
Should we even plan another? I'll answer this in one go, Devashish sir. How to handle, and I'll take 2 minutes more, Mohan sir.
Sure.
If you have a toxic boss, definitely you will have to find a way to give the feedback to your boss. We will plan another session wherein we can talk something about boss management as well, if time permits. But very important, like I told you, my situation, my boss was toxic. He was shouting at my team at all time, and I really gave up one day, and I really had to say that I'm taking responsibility of my team, and it was the whole floor of 300 people. They will not fail, and I stood by it. So my toxic boss could never scold them again. He never scolded me, but he scolded my team every day. I couldn't handle it. So there will be more discussions around it if we pick it up later. Importance of teamwork, very important. I think we, in different parts, we spoke about collaboration, that people should work together. How to manage the team effectively, we touched upon it, touched the surface. How to build teams with diverse cultures. I think this is the last one, because how to make use of time and team. Diverse cultures, clearly, I think I spoke about gender neutrality. I spoke about understanding privacy. In a diverse culture, you need to respect every person's space. And if you do that, you will be able to handle diverse cultures better. How to make use of time and team. Yes, if you are goal-oriented, set the target, you are able to calculate time and management of each work required, you're definitely there with time and team. So I think we've covered most of it. And if there are anything, then maybe you can send the questions over to Top League, and I can take them up at that time.
Nitika, there is a last question from Selvi. If the boss is less qualified than his teammates, how his leadership will be?
Truthfully, leadership has nothing to do with qualification. It is only a state of mind. that you think that this person will not be able to, do the task. A lot of times your boss might have better, maybe be a people manager, will be able to divide the task, would be able to ensure that the task is met, might not know the task itself. I might not be able to do the transaction and, calculate the insurance plan, but I will be able to find out who can do it. So it is very important that the boss is able to make them understand that this is what my job role is. And I am going to make the use of each and every person in this team's, strengths, combine it together, and as a team, we will gain well. And what I get there is my people understanding and my ability to make you guys perform better. Whose question was that? Was it in the end?
From Ms. Selvi.
Selvi, was I able to answer some part of your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Participants, are there any other questions or clarification you may want to seek with Neetika?
Okay.
Only appreciations, madam.
Sorry.
Very professionally done in a different manner. My appreciations to you. Well done. Thank you, madam. Chidambaram
Thank
here.
you, sir. Thank you, Chidambaram.
Ms. Ritika, session was so informative, and you not only brought out the points and algorithm, you gave examples also. So that makes a great clarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. This is, I'm really getting motivated hearing this.
Because your experience in office as a team member as well as a team leader, that gave us a clear vision to prepare the topics and deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think you covered a wide gamut of HR related issues in your team management, which is wonderful, which talks about your experience as a HR manager. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Ms. Neetika, may I take this opportunity to invite Mr. Arun Subramaniam to speak a few words on the session?
Definitely, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Arun.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. Thank you, Ms. Neetika. It was a wonderful session, very informative. And you covered a very wide range of subjects. Particularly, I loved your bringing in the 5 dysfunctions by Patrick. I think you must have read his earlier book,
Yeah.
The 5 Temptations of a CEO, which was the reason why he wrote the 5 dysfunction.
Yeah.
In fact, if you had dealt a bit more on that, it would have been an exceedingly beautiful session, much more valuable because, it is that 5 dysfunction is a fable about Catherine. Like Selvi was talking, the classic case, Catherine is a classic case, she was an army veteran who was a 7th grade teacher, and then she comes in as a CEO of Decision Tech. When Jeff is relieved because he couldn't handle the situation. And the way she organizes the entire HOD team into a beautiful, well-knit team and takes the company to success is what the 5 dysfunction all about. And it has lots of takeaways for team management, team building, motivation. Starts off with the bottom of the pyramid with trust and reaches to the top with accountability. And the story is all about the various off-site meetings they have. Maybe you can think of doing a full session on the 5 dysfunctions because it is a wonderful book. The fable is very good and it has all the essentials of a good drama with team building as a focus.
Definitely, sir.
I think, because you seem to have an excellent flow, you are very comfortable in articulating, you seem to have a good experience in handling people and in training. So I think, you will be able to do a good job with the 5 dysfunctions.
Sure,
And that will
sir.
have much more takeaways for the people. That's what I personally believe, because there are people like Martin in it, Martin, Jeff, Mikey. There are a lot of characters in that book, who are wonderful characters. And, you can, it has all types of people and how they all gel together, where the breakdown happens, how she overcomes those breakdowns, how she drives a team building. Maybe, you can spend some time in converting that book into a training program. I think, your expertise of man management, team building will all come out beautifully if you can do that.
Sure, sir.
You can
Sounds
use our
good.
Top League platform for that also, no issues. You're very impressive. Thanks a lot for using this platform and sharing your knowledge with us. We look forward to more such programs from you.
Sure, sir.
And,
Definitely.
Tomorrow we have a beautiful program by Mr. Suresh Ramaratnam on colors and health. I will request everyone to please join tomorrow at 7 p.m. and understand how we can make our life and health colorful with Mr. Suresh. Thank you once more, Nitika. We look forward to another program from you in the near future. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for such lovely words. I could see the chat window also. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nitika. It was a beautiful presentation.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Nitika. It was wonderful having you in this evening and doing this presentation. It was well appreciated. We look forward to more sessions from you, as identified by Mr. Arun as well on the topic.
Sure, sir.
So if there are no other queries and any clarifications, we may go ahead and close the session today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.